Chapter 1, Segment 1, Sensation and Perception. Sensation is the ability to turn detections of a stimulus into a private experience. Perception is an act of giving meaning or purpose to the detected sensation. One approaches the study of sensation and perception with a scientific pursuit. Due to it being a scientific pursuit, it causes for it to need scientific methods. In this instance, there are 5 methods. Method 1, Threshold. Listening to loud sounds often may change your ability to hear the faintest sounds around by damaging your hearing. Method 2, Scaling. Measuring private experiences. Qualia is saying you hear or taste something. Method 3, Signal Detection Theory, which is measuring difficult decisions. Method 4, Sensory Neuroscience. Sensory receptors and nerves undergird your perceptual experience. Method 5, Neuroimaging, an image of the mind. Binocular rivalry is having to view completely different images with each eye. 2 images would compete to dominate your perception, but modern brain imaging techniques enables us to trace experiences that take place in the brain. Thresholds and the dawn of psychophysics. The study of this sense was always a mix of experimental science and philosophy. Gustav Fechner, considered to be the true founder of experimental psychology, had suffered severe eye damage. As his vision recovered, he became absorbed with the relationship between the mind and matter. Wilhelm Wundt, given the title of the founder of experimental psychology. Dualism is the idea that the mind has an existence separate from the material world of the body. Materialism is the idea that the only thing that exists is matter, and that all things, including the mind and consciousness, are the result of interaction between bits of matter. Panpsychism is the idea that the mind exists as a property of all matter, meaning that all matter has a consciousness, which is extended to inanimate objects. Fechner's goal was to formally describe the relationship between sensation, which is the mind, and the energy, which is the matter. Psychophysics is the science of defining quantitative relationships between physical and psychological events. Ernest Weber is an anatomist and psychologist who was interested in touch, tested the accuracy of our sense of touch. 2-point touch threshold is the minimum distance at which 2 stimuli are just perceptible or as separate. Most important findings involved lifted weights. Just noticeable difference, which is known as the JND, or difference threshold, is the smallest detectable difference between two stimuli, or the minimum change in a stimulus that enables it to be correctly judged as different from a reference stimulus. Weber fraction is the constant of proportionality in Weber's law. Weber's law is the principle describing the relationship between stimulus and resulting sensation that says that just noticeable difference is a constant fraction of the comparison stimulus. In Weber's observations, Fechner found what he was looking for, a way to describe the relationship between mind and matter. Fechner's law is a principle describing the relationship between stimulus and resulting sensation that says that the magnitude of subjective sensation increases proportionally to the logarithm of stimulus. So this is an extended Weber's law. S equals R log K. This equation describes the fact that our psychological experience of intensity of light, sound, smell, taste, or touch increases less quickly than the actual physical stimulus increases. Similarly, between Fechner's law and Albert Einstein's famous equation is E equals mc squared. Absolute threshold is the minimum amount of stimulation necessary for a person to detect a stimulus of 50% of the time. Psychophysical methods. Method of constant stimuli. A psychological method that requires creating many stimuli with different intensities in order to find the tiniest intensity that can be detected. The intensity at which a stimulus would be detected at 50% of the time would be chose at your threshold, but this can also be inefficient in an experiment because much of the subject's time is spent with stimuli that are clearly well above or below their threshold. Method of limits is a psychophysical method in which the particular dimension of the stimulus or the difference between two stimuli is varied incrementally until the participant responds different. This, though, is more efficient, but data shows that there is some overshoot in judgment. Lastly, there is method of estimation, a method of limits in which the subject controls the change in the stimulus, much like day-to-day activities today, like turning the dial on the radio, but it's not usually used to measure the threshold.